This is my 16-inch MacBook Pro review 6 months later. Let's get right into it. I want to talk a bit about my experience that led up to me buying this laptop before we get into the full review. Back in 2012, I knew that a brand new radical redesign of the MacBook Pro was imminent, and I waited until Apple came out with the first generation MacBook Pro with Retina display, and I bought it immediately. This was the dream computer for so many people. It had gotten rid of the disk reader, it had a full suite of ports, it had amazing battery life, and best of all, that brand new Retina display. And for so many people, it was the best workhorse machine on the market. It really set a new standard in the industry for what a portable, thin and light workhorse machine could be. I used that machine all through college, and after 5 years of use, I started thinking about buying a new laptop. The only problem was that the current generation of MacBook Pros available on the market were not getting good press. They had keyboard issues, they had the stupid touch bar, and worst of all, they had thermal throttling issues. So because of these issues, I just decided to keep using my 2012 MacBook Pro, even though it was getting a little bit old. In 2018, Apple released the newest iteration of the 15-inch MacBook Pro, claiming to have fixed all the issues that were plaguing the previous generation. These new laptops also featured the brand new top-of-the-line i9 8-core chip in a laptop. This is the first time we were getting an 8-core MacBook Pro, and I was so excited, so I bought a spec'd out MacBook Pro as soon as it became available. And then I returned it 5 days later. For my photo and video needs, I wasn't seeing a justifiable difference to my now 6-year-old 2012 MacBook Pro. So I continued to wait, and for the first time in my life, I started thinking about switching to Team PC. I started window shopping different laptops, different desktops, wondering what would be the best computer for me. Because even though I love Apple products and they do make my life easier, they had been dropping the ball so much lately, I started wondering whether or not that Apple tax was worth the price to get into the walled garden of Eden. And then I started hearing rumors about this radical brand new 16-inch MacBook Pro that Apple was going to be announcing soon. I didn't know if this was something that was going to actually fix all the issues we ever wanted, that this was going to be the dream workhorse machine like those 2012 Retina display MacBook Pros, or if this was going to be another failure. But I decided I would give Apple one more chance to win me over before I made the Herculean jump to Team PC. And lo and behold, Apple won me over. The 16-inch laptop was released and all of the tech reviewers were giving it raving reviews. Flawless. This is the one. This is the one you need. This is what we've been waiting for. But because of my previous problems with the 15-inch and the overheating and all the issues I had with that, I said, you know what, I'm going to give it 2 weeks before I decide to purchase this in case there's some fatal flaw that they haven't found yet. But that fatal flaw never came, so I chose to order my 16-inch MacBook Pro. This particular machine has a 2.3 GHz 8-core i9 processor, 32 GB of RAM, 8 GB of AMD Radeon Pro graphics, and a 2 TB SSD. If you're looking to buy this laptop, I'd say that the order of upgrades should be the following: graphics, RAM, processor, then storage. This laptop is slightly larger than the previous 15-inch laptops in every dimension, and that's a good thing. Apple is no longer sacrificing performance for thinness, and it's greatly appreciated. Even though it is slightly larger, they're able to add in an extra inch of screen real estate in a near identical footprint. The Peak Design 30L bag that I use fit my previous 15-inch and also fits my new 16-inch. That comes from significantly shrinking the bezels on the device, and although it's not bezel-less, it's a noticeable and welcome difference. The pain of USB-C was one of the first problems I encountered with this laptop. I quickly bought a USB-C hub, and my immediate port problems were solved. With 2 ports on each side, I found it nice being able to charge from either side of my laptop. Unlike every other mobile device in recent years, Apple kept the headphone port on the right side, which I greatly appreciate. They fixed the keyboard, and the typing experience was extremely similar to that of my beloved 2012 MacBook Pro, and I quickly got used to it in just a couple days. The addition of the dedicated escape key is nice, so I can force quit applications when they're frozen. Speaking of freezing, the only real problem I've had with this laptop in my 6 months of use has been with the touch bar. It'll just randomly freeze and refuse to work, not allowing me basic functionality of my own computer. This forces me to go into system preferences to change brightness or volume manually, which is a massive pain. This can usually be fixed with a quick restart of the computer, but I shouldn't have to do this. In my opinion, the touch bar is stupid and a failed experiment by Apple. I much prefer the function keys of my 2012 MacBook Pro. It would be easier and more efficient, eliminate the freezing problems, save battery power, and most importantly, bring the cost down. While we're on the topic of complaints, I have one more small issue with this laptop. When it was released, it did not ship with Wi-Fi 6 integrated into it, which is kind of a bummer from Apple's brand new flagship device. But if they choose to use a 10th gen Intel chip in the future, that would eliminate that problem. But I'm still bummed that on a brand new flagship device, they didn't future-proof it with Wi-Fi 6. By the time Wi-Fi 6 is readily available for everyone, you're probably looking to buy a new laptop anyway, so it's not the biggest deal, but it still irks me. I'm a photographer and videographer, so my laptop has to handle hard workloads, and this thing does a very good job with it. In Final Cut and DaVinci Resolve, this thing breezes through 4K timelines. However, with my editing apps of choice, Premiere Pro, Lightroom, Photoshop, the entire Adobe suite, it's less of a flawless experience. For whatever reason, Adobe hasn't optimized their software for the Mac, and it shows. Whenever you see those bar chart tests on other YouTube channels, Premiere is always dead last in almost every category because of that fact. The Adobe suite still heavily relies on the CPU, and because of that, doesn't take advantage of the amazing new GPU like Final Cut and DaVinci Resolve do. Render and export times in DaVinci Resolve and Final Cut are lightning fast, and in my use, somewhere around 50 to 70% faster than Premiere Pro. I fairly regularly experience lag or drop frames in Premiere even at 1/4 or 1/8 quality while editing 4K Sony footage, something that doesn't happen in the other two applications. While exporting from Premiere, the laptop will sound like a jet engine spinning up those fans to try and cool down the CPU since most of the pressure is there. Whereas with Final Cut and Resolve, it's near silent because it's using the GPU. All of these issues that I'm having are definitely on Adobe's end, and it's not a flaw of the laptop. If Adobe were to actually optimize their applications to take advantage of that new GPU, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But that's not the world we live in. Battery life is amazing. It uses the largest battery allowed while traveling, 100 watt-hours, and it shows. When I'm not doing any sort of editing, when I'm just web browsing, emailing, watching YouTube and Netflix, listening to music, anything not intensive, you can easily get close to all-day battery life with this machine. I used to have to bring a charger with me everywhere on my old laptop if I wanted to get anything done, but now I can comfortably work at a coffee shop and not need a charger. That's pretty impressive. Now obviously if you're doing anything intensive like video editing or photo editing, the battery life is still gonna suck and you're going to have to plug in. There are no thermal throttling issues on this laptop. Because of the bigger body and the brand new thermal solutions, you are going to be able to get a better overall performance from this machine, especially while doing sustained workloads like rendering and exporting video projects or exporting hundreds of photos from Lightroom. What you're hearing me through right now is the MacBook Pro microphone, and although Apple says it's studio quality, I would highly disagree. I would not be doing any kind of professional recording with this microphone, but when you're using it for voiceover calls or Skype calls or Zoom calls or whatever like that, it's definitely going to give you an edge up compared to a different laptop. It does sound better than those microphones, but it's not a professional microphone. The biggest difference you're going to notice is with the speakers. No, it's not Fisher-Price audio. If you get that reference, drop a comment. These speakers quite literally blew me away. The sound quality is amazing, giving off a rich, full sound with plenty of bass as well. I used to have dedicated speakers on my desk, and I put them into storage after a couple of days of using this laptop because the speakers are just that good. It's something that's hard to get across in this video, but man, these speakers are mind-blowing. Just as a quick test, I'm going to compare the sound from my old laptop to the new laptop. Overall, I'm very happy with this laptop. Apple listened and rectified almost all the shortcomings of their previous laptops. I think the biggest step now is for software developers to start optimizing their apps to take advantage of this new hardware. And with Apple switching to ARM chips in the not so distant future, we might start seeing some crazy performance increases. But I want to know what you guys think. Have you bought this laptop? Are you thinking about buying this laptop? Let me know in the comment section down below. My name has been Marc Steiner, and I'll see you next time.